Welcome to the Epic Score Podcast. I'm your host, Gabe Shadid. This week, I interviewed Epic Score composer Tim Stoney. Tim has a new Epic Score album launching January 6th. In this interview, we'll learn about Tim's fairly unusual journey into the world of music. Tim's story really illustrates that there's no standard way into the music industry. Plus, we'll learn about some upcoming Epic Score projects as well. And I want to give a quick shout out to our friends in Sweden because I got some really cool news that we're trending really well in Sweden. So thank you, Sweden. All right, I enjoyed my chat with Tim. We had some good laughs. I hope you enjoy it. And I'll see you here in the studio next week, and we'll continue chatting about my journey towards Epic Score. My guest today is Epic Score composer Tim Stoney. Welcome, Tim. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Tim just wrote a new album for Epic Score. It's coming out next week. We worked long and hard on this album, but it came out, I think, really great. Really great. We'll talk about the album here in a little bit. I always like to start, where did you start? Where did you come from?
Where did you come from? Where did you go? No, cut that bit. So, I don't know, like, I guess with most people, my parents got me into music. I was meant to start with the clarinet, but I didn't have my two front teeth. So I had to say bye to the clarinet. And,
I'm sorry, wait, hang on a second. Do you need teeth to play a clarinet? I don't know anything about playing a clarinet.
Well, apparently you need your adult teeth to play the clarinet. I had my baby milk teeth, or whatever you want to call them. And so the dude was like, I'm sorry, you can't play clarinet. That's what I was told.
I'm just a piano guy. I don't know anything about teeth on a clarinet.
You don't need teeth to play the piano?
That's hilarious.
No, so that's when I picked up the trumpet, and I'd been playing it since I was 9. I never really got serious about music until I was about 16. And my school teacher at the time, we had this bit of coursework. We had to compose a piece of music, and Bach does this, Mozart does that. I'd merge them together, do something cool with it. And she loved it. She gave me full marks for it. So I thought, maybe I can write music, kind of thing. And then, like, shortly after, that's when I kind of got introduced to Logic. I've always been a pen and paper kind of guy up until that point. So they started updating the classrooms with all these Apple Macs and stuff. And, my first time playing with Logic, for me, it was the most unlogical. But I don't know what the word is.
I think it's illogical.
I hated it.
I'm not saying logic's not logical.
I mean, dude, for me, it was the worst thing ever. I was like...
And Logic was the first sequencer for you?
Yeah, and okay. I continue to use it to this day. I've dabbled in others like Cubase. I can kind of work that one out. Pro Tools is just... I can't figure that one out. I've tried Digital Performer, but I guess you kind of just stick with like your first door, right? Some people move on to others, Cubase, Reaper, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I eventually got used to Logic, and we'll fast forward to uni. Growing up as a child, I've always been quite naive about a lot of things, and I think that naivety's come out of me more recently, like in my mid-20s.
Okay.
We'll get to that bit, like it'll make sense, right? So my first year at uni is the first time I understood what sample libraries actually were. So one of the guys who was doing the same course as me, his name's Len, I'm still quite good friends with him. He introduced me to the world of third-party sample libraries, specifically East-West. And he was playing me this piece of music. We kind of met because in one of our lectures, the lecturer, the professor, made us all stand up and give us the whole, what's your name? Where'd you come from? What kind of music interests you? And him and I were the only people to say video game music. So as soon as I heard him say that, I was like, I'm going to talk to this guy at the end of the lecture. And so we got to know each other. We shared our love for video games, and that's when he introduced me to sample libraries. And it blew my mind. It was crazy how realistic they sounded compared to the Logic stock instruments. And so then he introduced me to this group of guys called ZREO. Zelda Re-Orchestrated. Their mission was to kind of spread their love of Zelda music. You know the game, The Legend of Zelda?
Yes.
Kind of spread that to the world. They all had this passion, and Len obviously thought it would be good to introduce me to them. So I'm glad he did, because in a weird kind of way, I wonder if I never met Len, how would I have got into the music industry? It's crazy kind of thinking how you get from A to B in life. So he introduced me to them. They got me on a call. They told me what they were all about, doing MIDI takedowns of the music within the game. And eventually, after they kind of saw what I could do, I think that's when they thought was a good time to introduce me to this secret project they were working on, which later turned out to be a huge undertaking of this album based on the video game Twilight Princess, which was the latest one at the time. And it was the biggest one at the time because it was on the consoles, and I think the console ones were generally considered the magnum opus of the time. They had the handheld games, the Game Boy games, the Nintendo DS, and all that sort of stuff.
So this project was a fan-made project.
Yes.
And was it the music from the game, or it was original compositions sort of in the style of the game?
No, it was the music from the game. Generally, Zelda music back then was very MIDI sounding, and part of the mission of ZREO was, what would it sound like if it was played by a live orchestra? Because there weren't many, as far as I'm aware, there weren't many concerts back then doing this kind of thing. You had video games live and maybe Play, I think it was called, I can't remember, doing it. But, they didn't just stick to Zelda music. They did all sorts of video games. And so their mission, obviously, third-party sample libraries were the closest thing you could get to a live sound orchestra without splashing out hundreds of thousands on live recordings. And this album, Twilight Symphony, based on the game Twilight Princess, was this huge album of like 71, 72 tracks. Ended up being like 3 to 4 hours.
And how much music did you contribute to that project? How many of the tracks?
I want to say I worked on roughly 30 to 35, give or take 30 to 35 tracks.
This is quite the passion project.
Yeah. So, but back then I had so much energy when I was writing music, and I was every day I spent on this project. Aside from I had uni as well, and I tried to maintain somewhat of a social life. But when you got a passion, the drive is there. You just let it take you for a ride, man.
So what did that lead to?
So that led to event like we started seeing the potential in it. There was a lot of interest in it, and we thought, why not take it a step further and record a live choir with it?
Of course. Why not a live choir? Because that's cheap, right?
Well, I mean, we had our friend Kickstarter help us with that, and the donations from all our fans.
And how'd the Kickstarter do?
It surpassed the goal by a long shot.
Oh, wow.
So enough for that and more.
Wow.
So we were able to book a live choir. I think it was 18 singers, but we layered them and it sounded huge. It was beautiful, man. We had John Kurlander as the recording engineer, and we had Tim Davis as the vocal contractor. They were phenomenal. The choir was recorded in this beautiful studio in Malibu, but I can't remember the name of the studio. But it had a really spacious sound, and we had a live feed for our top donators, so that they could sit in for the... Actually, no, sorry, the top donators got an invite to the recording studio, so they had the tickets paid for them. I think they flew over, and they just sat in the recording, watched the whole thing.
So there was a lot of work involved in this thing. Live choirs, dozens of tracks of production. How was it received? How did it end up?
It was a long road. It's out there now. It's been received really well. I like to think it will continue to be received really well, because it was one of the most popular Nintendo games at the time. I think it still is in a lot of people's hearts, especially mine. It's a really nostalgic game for me. That's basically how I got into sample libraries, and now I'm kind of an addict to them. I'm constantly trying to make them sound as realistic as possible.
What was the next step after Zelda? Did anybody contact you because of the Zelda thing, a passion project like that? Did it lead to meeting people? What was the outcome for you?
So that was released when I was 21. That was like 2012, I want to say, is when it came out. And it was a good like 6-7 years before I started working professionally. In between that time, I continued to work with the producer of that project. I helped out on concert tours. One specifically was Zelda, the 25th anniversary. I think it was called Symphony of the Goddesses. And most of the stuff I did was just like MIDI takedowns, making it easy for the arrangers to base their arrangements on, so they didn't have to do the...
Yeah, define for us what MIDI takedown means.
So it's a MIDI takedown, as they called it, was basically to listen to the tracks, write down what you hear in the simplest form possible. So I'm not talking about violins when I'm doing this, violins 2, oboes, it was woodwind, high strings, low strings, or sometimes it was even just melody, chord, bass, and that was it.
And then somebody could arrange off of that as needed.
Yes. Exactly, yeah. And they have a understanding of how the original sounds, the strings are doing that, the brass are doing that, but, they could do their own thing with it as well.
And then you got into education. You were an educator.
So just moving back slightly, briefly, I worked a lot in a supermarket, as I imagine most people do. That was my daytime job. And it got to a point where I'm like, I want to do something with music. And I'm obviously not getting jobs in video games. I'm not getting jobs in film, TV, that kind of thing. So I thought, try teaching a bit. And fortunately, it was at a time where a lot of education kind of websites are out there. You put your profile online, and then just people around the area can search, piano teacher near me, for example. I got my first student within like a week. And it's funny, you start to realize how much you really have to pay attention to this kind of working for yourself professional lifestyle. I was so focused on doing right by this student in the first lesson that I completely forgot to pay attention to the time.
9 hours later.
Well, I mean, you joke, but it was supposed to be, I think, a 45-minute or a half an hour lesson. Ended up being an hour and a half, and he was like, "Yeah, dude, like, I got to get going." Dude. I'm like, "Oh God, I'm so sorry."
This is all great and everything, Mr. Stoney, but I have soccer practice.
Yeah, I was like, "Oh, dude, I'm so sorry."
Oh, I'm sorry. Football practice.
Oh yeah, soccer. What's that? This is the UK. And then gradually, I'd get more students, and I could start reducing time at my day job. I worked at a supermarket called Tesco. I don't think you have that in the US, but maybe you've heard of it. It's kind of like Walmart, I guess. And then another company contacted me to teach extracurriculum in schools, specifically 2 schools, and it was in the lunch hours and the after school hours. So it wasn't like a full day. It was, an hour and a half to 2 hours, 2 days of the week. So that plus teaching privately was quite a nice way of getting more into music related jobs. And around that time is when I started getting into trailer music. But backing up, just a bit more context. One of the guys I did this Twilight Symphony with, we had this dream of making a game together. It didn't really take off, but we met a guy called Walid Figali. Sorry, Walid, if I pronounced your name wrong. For anyone that's in the trailer music industry, they probably know who he is. He's CEO of Evident alongside Arne Anderson. Walid had quite a big part in the trailer music industry, and because I'd been speaking on and off with him for quite some time, I thought, I might as well contact him about it, see his thoughts on it. I'd already written a piece of music to submit to some people, and I thought Walid would be the best person to give me some advice. And back then, I'm not ashamed to say I had a pretty big head about my music.
You believed in yourself. That's okay. That's okay if you believe in yourself, right?
No. But thank you, Wanted, for giving me a reality check. It's like, yeah, I mean, it's a nice piece of music, Tim, but, there's too much of this going on. You got too many ideas. It's too melodic. I wish, the production's not quite there. Basically, reality check, as I say, and he gave me some pretty good advice on how to improve my track, and he introduced me to a couple of other guys who really, really helped push the track where it needed to go. And I kind of finished this track, and then I got it professionally mixed, and then I started submitting to companies. Now, most people, I think, would have submitted to about 10 or 20 companies their first track. Maybe, I don't know, I could be wrong. I submitted to 5 because I thought that was enough. Fortunately, it was. It was. And the only 2 I remember submitting to were Dust Brains and Really Slow Motion. Now, I count myself really lucky with this because Dust Brains got back to me within about 10 minutes, which I thought was pretty insane. And their words were, "This is a really cool track. Do you want to write an album for us?" And I thought,
uh-oh.
What? Well, I mean, I was like, hell yeah, I want to write an album, but I've got 2 teaching jobs. I'm still working at Tesco. Yeah, I could.
I don't know. I'm kind of busy, guys.
Yeah, like, sorry, who is this? No, I was hyped.
That's fantastic.
I was thrilled about it.
That's not a usual response.
It is not.
So Dust Brains says, write us an album.
Yeah, we finished it. It took, because it was my first album. There was a lot of feedback. It took me a long time to write it compared to albums I do now. I mean, it still takes me a few months to write an album because, I have multiple projects going on. I try to get them done in good time, but, that album, I remember, I think took me a good 6 to 7 months. It ended up well. It was received well. It's had a few licenses on some movies, one in particular being Venom. And then after that album was done, I contacted a few more people, one of which was yours truly, Epic Score. Gabe got back to me saying, "Oh, dude, I love your sound design and I like your melodic tendencies." When I contacted you and you got back to me, I quit my job at Tesco.
Oh, gosh.
Because that was a proper leap of faith.
Yeah, I mean, you had a really interesting sound design approach, and I really liked your intros. I really liked those finale moments. And so, yeah, it caught my ear, and here we are. We're going to release our 9th album soon.
Yeah. 9th album, yikes.
So that was the first one with Epic Score. And what did it start leading to? Were you able to do music full time at that point?
Funny story. So my first PRS payment, I will never forget this, £2.69.
Okay, so PRS is the royalty collection company in England, and your first payment was £2.69.
Yeah. Best day of my life. I was like, it started.
At least you know the system works.
At least I know the system works. And I'd had people tell me it takes a long time for royalties to come through. You're looking at 6 months to a year. And so it was around that time I thought, I think now was the right time to take that leap of faith. I think the only people I told that I was going to quit my job was my parents, maybe. I didn't tell anyone else. I had a girlfriend at the time that I didn't tell. She also worked at Tesco. I like to think I was a good employee. I enjoyed working for my boss. So it was really difficult in a way for me to hand in that notice because I knew I was going to have to say goodbye to everyone and take a bit more of a kind of a solitary lifestyle. One of the things I miss about Tesco is the social aspect of it. I saw a bit of disappointment on his face, and I was like, I don't know if I want to go through with this anymore. But anyway, he accepted it. I stayed on for another month. I just felt bad. And then that's when I text my partner at the time. And I was like, I've handed in my notice. And her text to me was, "You're a idiot." But it did not faze me one bit because like part of me thought, yeah, it's a risk, but sometimes you just know when you've got to take that leap. And it could have gone wrong. I could have stopped earning money. I could have, not been successful in the trailing music industry.
any job in a creative industry has a certain amount of risk, right? Whether people accept what you do is very subjective. So it's not like, hey, look, my music is 2 + 2 and it equals 4, so it's successful. It doesn't work that way, right? So yeah, you're taking a big chance. You have this sort of stable, retail job, and a lot of people. Your girlfriend is there, so it's going to upset the apple cart quite a bit, I think.
Yeah, I think that's an important the key word there is stable, because working for yourself and the creative industries are anything but stable, especially when you're first starting out, and that's where the risk is. But if you believe in it enough and you've got some form of financial numbers backing up that you can do it, i.e. my £2.69 PRS royalty, which eventually became 300, and it's been growing since. I'd argue that that's enough of a sign to show that you can make it in that sort of industry.
So you start doing some Epic Score albums. I'm assuming you're working for. There's no exclusivity when you worked for me, so I know you're working for other people. How does it keep growing from there?
So from there on out, I mean, it was more of the same stuff for a few years, and then 2 or 3 years into my career, Matthew, who I work very closely with now, Matt had, funnily enough, met Walid in the US because they were thinking of making a new trailer music course, because me and Matt were working quite closely together then. He wanted to bring me into it. He says, Tim, I've met this guy called Walid. And I'm like, I know Walid. I know this guy. He was interested in having us both on to do this course, and that was a big undertaking as well. There was a lot of video editing, there was a lot of planning, keeping up with students and making sure they were getting the most out of it. Eventually that kind of dwindled a bit. A few years again after that, I already knew that Matt was interested in video games, and he knew that I was interested in video games. It was around that sort of time that we thought we kind of want to get into that, and so we worked on starting up our company for video game music. And one of the hardest things about that was coming up with a name. I asked so many people. We came up with like a list of 10 names that kind of made the cut. And I specifically remember asking you, Gabe.
Uh-oh.
What do you think of these names for a video game thing? And rather than just saying, I like this one, as everyone else did, you gave a bit more of a light bulb moment answer for me and Matt, and that was basically, how do you imagine companies referring to you? I think one of the companies' names we had was Soana. That was something we were thinking. It was like Sounds of a New Age or something really cringe-inducing like that. Yeah, exactly. We eventually landed on Fractal Edge music. Pretty cool, edgy.
That's a cool one.
Maybe a little bit cheesy in some form or another. And that was the one that you picked. You were like, what about the guys at Fractal Edge? And when you said that in the email, I thought, I like that. It has a nice ring to it. I like that you've kind of put some thought into the answer you've given us, and I will always appreciate that.
Yeah, I mean, part of creating, I think, this is just me. Part of creating an identity is trying to project and predict how people will view you based on that identity. And so you have to sort of turn it around. Yeah, what about those guys at Fractal Edge? Like, oh, that's cool. You need to sort of imagine somebody else saying the name as opposed to like, oh, it just looks like this on a business card. It's like, no. Yeah. At least that's me. That's just me. I don't know. I'm not a super marketing expert or anything like that.
I mean, it worked for us.
That's great.
We read some cool comments about the name, and coming from a guy who comes up with a name like Epic Score, I mean, come on, let's go. We've worked on the music for the Beyond Good and Evil remaster. That was our first big game that we worked on. We've worked on a few indie games since then. Turbo Overkill is probably one of the bigger ones from Apogee Entertainment. Also, we've got a new game coming out next year. Unfortunately, it's under NDA. We can't specifically say what game it is just yet, but we will eventually hopefully be able to share our involvement on it, which I'm really excited for. And we've got another game working with the same company. So yeah, the video games industry stuff is going really well.
All right. We did an album, our 9th album together. This one was a little bit different than your previous albums. It was actually a little bit less sound design. and a bit more, I would say, thematic, especially thematic in the big, bold brass horn themes. What inspired you? What took you down that road?
That is me going back to my roots, funnily enough. The thing I like about working with you, Epic Score, is that, as you say, you don't tend to force people down a particular route. You know, you like working with people for who they are within music. I don't know if you remember, every time it comes to writing a new album with you, I'll always ask you, is there anything you'd like me to do a little bit differently this time? You're like, I don't know, Tim, more of the same stuff. I'm like, okay, all right. I see what I can do differently.
You know, we sort of get a vibe going, and if it works for me, I try not to tie people's hands when I see what they're capable of. What do I tell guys like you when you do an album? I say, have fun with it. If you're having fun, it's going to come through in the music.
Mm-hmm.
And I hope you're having fun, because this album was...
I had fun writing this album.
I hope you did, because it's big and bold.
Yeah. You know, I was worried because for the first time, you didn't reply to them until quite near the end. And I was like...
I was distracted with launching a podcast.
Yeah, no, I realize that now. But...
In fairness, I listened to the first... I think you sent like 3 or 4 at the beginning.
Yeah.
And I listened to them, but I made no comments. And then you kept going, and I really wanted to see where we were as a whole picture and how it all worked together. And then we went back and we actually had our rounds of notes and adaptations and stuff like that. I think it worked well this time, and I really dug in on those mixes and pulled out that brass, because your mixes kind of buried that.
Yeah.
And I said, no, wait, there's something pretty awesome going on with these brass themes. I hope everybody enjoys this album, because I think it was a fun one. I can't wait till it comes out.
Yeah, definitely different from my previous ones. I do remember going down a very electronic sound design album for you once, and it was not for you. As you said, you didn't like it. There was the one album you didn't like, because I was like, I'm going to try going really edgy and really weird. I think I pushed it a little bit too far.
A bit too far.
Yeah. In a world. But no, I had fun with this one. This is more my kind of style. I like big, orchestral, dramatic.
You know what you are really good at, which I really like, is your arpeggios, those repeating patterns, and you pick synths or, you pick whatever it is that you pick to be the instrumentation on that. You're very clever with your arpeggios and stuff. And
thank you.
All right. So beyond albums, have you done anything with sample libraries or, I don't know, beta testing or anything along those lines?
So I've done a few sample library demos. One specifically, Subversion by is it Dark Force Audio, Tarek Mansour?
Yeah, Tarek Mansour, Dark Force Audio, Subversion. Yeah, his virtual instrument. Yep. You did a demo for that, yes?
Yeah. I did a demo for that in exchange for the library. Thank you, Tarek. It's a beautiful library. For anyone that doesn't have it, don't get it, so that I can continue to sound different from you all.
That virtual instrument was really good at. It's good at those building those sort of tense moments.
The brooding stuff.
Yeah, brooding, and he did a nice job with that. I want to thank you for your time today. It's fun chatting with you. It's always fun to talk to you.
Is it because I'm British?
Yes, your funky accent is really fun to listen to. You and Daniel James.
Ooh. Oh man, I was gonna today. Did he start that with you? And today.
Oh my gosh, you are imitating his accent. Look at my gosh, that's crazy. That's so funny. I just talked to him the other day.
Yeah, you got an album. He's doing an album for you now, isn't he?
He is. I don't think that's been announced anywhere, but we'll say it here. Daniel's working on an album.
Oh, no. Sorry.
No, it's okay. He is. He's coming back. So that's fun. So yeah, I just talked to him the other day, and he was on holiday back in England.
When it was raining.
It's raining. A big surprise.
Yeah. Welcome to sunny England.
So the new album will be out on the streaming platforms January 6th. That'll be fun, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, very excited for it. Very excited.
All right. Take care.